Now that you know what you need to raise corporate funding, I want to go into what are the item number one. What are the different types of funding that are available to grow your company, and what are the pros and cons of each? Once you know those things, you can make an intelligent decision about which types of funding make the most sense for you that you would like to pursue now. So let's go into that. I'm going to go between what I feel is the least attractive type of funding, and we're going to move forward to what I consider the most attractive and beneficial types of funding you can use to grow your business. So the first type of funding you can use is angel or shark. It's also sometimes referred to as venture capital funding. And I alluded to the show Shark Tank a little bit ago. That's very popular on TV. I encourage you to watch the show. It's very educational, learning about presentation and negotiation, very vital skills to be successful in business. Now, the pros of that kinds of funding are you can get 100, 150, 200,000, sometimes even $300,000, $400,000 for a business venture. The cons are there's no guarantee of how much money you're going to raise. Some people work for 2 years to raise VC capital or shark money, and they don't raise anything. So it's a very hit and miss thing. I myself invested about $15,000 in putting together a PPM, which is a private placement memorandum, and speaking to qualified investors. And it took me about 2 years, and I raised about $350,000 for a business venture. So I've gone down that road, and you can raise some money in 3 or 6 months, or it could take a year or 2 years or more. So that kind of money is very inflexible. Another huge con of angel or shark money is that you're giving up equity and control in your company. So say 5 years from now you build up a company and you want to sell it, you can sell it for $10 million, and you're supposed to get a $10 million check from the sale of that company. If you've given up 40% to a guy like the guys on Shark Tank, you just lost $4 million of profit because they have 40% equity in your company. Also along the way, say a year from now you put $300,000 into a company and that business is making you $200,000 a month. If you needed that $300,000 and you gave up, again, 40% equity, to make that $200,000 a month, you're writing an $80,000 check to that person every month. That's money that could be in your pocket. So that money can be very expensive, and you could actually, like, if you need more funding in a second or third round, you can end up losing control of your company, and it could be taken away from you, which would be very devastating. And so I think that's actually the worst type of funding you can raise. It should be the absolute last, worst case scenario, last resort funding that you utilize. Also, Felix Dennis in the book The Narrow Road, he's worth about $500 million. He said, never ever give up equity unless you absolutely have to. And I agree with him 100%. So, by the way, that's a great book. I encourage you to read it. It's called The Narrow Road by Felix Dennis. So the second type of funding that you can raise is money from friends and family. Now, the pros of this are that you don't have a lot of monthly debt obligation on it. A lot of friends and family will wait till you make profits before you have to start paying them back. Some angel investors will wait a while before you start paying them back as well. So that's a pro of it. A con of it, a couple major cons in raising money from friends and family are if the person cannot afford to lose the money, it really creates stress in them while you're using it. Second of all, if the business goes bust, it could really strain your relationship. When you see that person, you might start avoiding them, or they might start avoiding you. You don't want to be nervous about going to a holiday get-together and you're going to see some relative because you lost 20 or 50 or 80 grand of their money. And you don't want to destroy a friendship over some money that you borrowed from them to start a business as well. I recommend only borrow money from friends or family in 2 scenarios. Number 1, they need to be very positive and very encouraging and supportive of you. Don't borrow it from someone who's a worrywart and they're going to be like, what's going on? And they're going to make you worried. So someone who's positive and encouraging to you. Number 2, they need to be able to afford to lose that money. In their mind, it needs to be a gift to you. And they need to be fine if your business goes belly up with, hey, I just gave that money to bless you and help you. And if it failed, but it's not going to create any ill will. So I'd encourage you only use family or friend money in those 2 scenarios if both of those things are there. The third type of funding that you can utilize would be traditional bank financing. Now, A pro of traditional bank financing is if you go to the right banks and you actually have decent income already, you might be able, and you have a company that's a couple years old, and you have good credit, you might be able to get, you know, 30, 50, maybe even up 100 grand between a few banks of financing. Some major cons of bank financing, traditional bank financing, are the following. Number one, it's going to take a lot of paperwork. They're going to ask you for pay stubs, tax statements, tax returns, bank statements, you know, a pile of paperwork. I used to be a mortgage guy. They ask for almost as much paperwork as mortgages do nowadays after the '08 financial meltdown. The second huge negative is that they're going to ask for collateral or equity. Sadly, I've heard of some banks, you know, that would loan someone $150,000 for their business, but they wanted $300,000 of equity or collateral. So it's like the risk was double the amount of money that they were going to borrow. I think that's a very unwise strategy. So banks oftentimes ask for a lot of collateral. And if your business fails, you're going to lose more money than you borrowed from the bank. So I think that's a huge unnecessary risk to take. You should never have to risk any more than the amount of money that you borrow. And second of all, that third con of traditional bank financing is you oftentimes can only use that money for the specific purpose that you borrowed it for. So it can be very limiting. For example, in hard money loans for real estate, all you can use that money for is to buy the house and to fix it up. You can't use the money to pay staff. You can't use the money to you do marketing to sell the property. So that money is usually very limited in its scope. Now, the fourth way that you can raise money, what I consider the second best way, is your own personal savings. Now that could be money in a checking account, savings account, money in cash, it could be money in a 401k, or even money available to you on a credit card. Pros of that kind of money are it's your own, and I think the best investment you can make is in yourself and your personal education and in growing your business. If you're investing in the stock market, you're basically investing in someone else's business. So if you're already buying stocks, like most Americans, I'd encourage you to take part of your portfolio and invest in yourself. And actually, I think you should invest in yourself first and then invest in other people's businesses. You can get the biggest ROI investing in yourself. Benjamin Franklin said, empty your pockets to fill your mind, and your mind will fill your pockets for the rest of your life. And I agree with that. So I think it's very wise to invest in yourself. That's a huge pro, is you're investing in yourself, you're putting belief behind yourself. And the cons of that are if you don't properly determine how much money you need and you run out of money, or you have an emergency in the business and you don't have cash reserves set aside, businesses can oftentimes fail just for lack of an extra 10 or 20 grand, just because the owners didn't plan properly and have enough reserves set aside. So don't make that mistake. Jesus had a parable that said, you know, when you build a house, make sure you count the cost before you start building. You don't want to build something and find out you don't have enough resources and it's only halfway built, and then, you know, you have egg on your face. So avoid that scenario. So I encourage you, do invest in yourself. And the last, and just one powerful example of that is Henry Ford. Henry Ford had been bankrupt 3 times with 3 companies he started. He had about $10,000 in savings that he and his wife had saved for many, many, many years. And they were using that money to buy a house, cash, free and clear. His wife encouraged him, why don't we use $5,000 of the savings for you to start what became Ford Motor Company. He was nervous to do that because he had had 3 past failures. But you know what? His wife kept encouraging him, and eventually he did decide to invest in himself, and he eventually became one of the wealthiest people in the world in the early 1900s. So when you invest in yourself, you're putting energy behind your own endeavors, and when you have more on the line, you're going to be more serious. So I encourage you, be like Henry Ford and use some of your personal savings to get going and to get your business going. Now the 5th type of funding to start your business, which I believe is the most powerful and the best, is corporate credit or business funding. Now the cons of corporate credit are that you're going to have a monthly debt obligation. So if you borrow $100,000 from the bank and use that for your business, your monthly debt obligation is going to be about 1 to 3% of the balance every month. So if you use that whole 100 grand, you're going to have a payment due of about between $1,000 and $3,000. So you need to make sure that you have enough income to support that monthly payment, either from reserves of the money that you raise, or from your own savings, or from profits that that new business is generating. So that's the one con of it. The pros of corporate credit are many. Number one, you can raise that money very, very fast. It's a formula. If you have those 4 things I mentioned earlier, and you know which banks to apply at, you can get $20,000, $30,000 to $40,000 per bank, and you can go up to like 5 or 6 banks at a time. We've helped clients using this system that we use with our done-for-you business blast service between $100,000 and $180,000 per round of financing. So you can raise money very fast, and it's a formulaic system. It's not like going to VC people or sharks where 2 years later you might have raised nothing. Second benefit is that you don't have to give up any equity at all to use this money. This is completely unsecured money. So you don't have to risk an existing asset you have, and you don't have to give part of your profits to an investor like with VC money. So it's very, very flexible, and you get to keep all of the profits for yourself. Those are really 2 benefits. It's unsecured, you can use it for any business purpose, and you don't have to give up any ownership or equity in your business using this kind of funding. And the last benefit of this kind of money is that you can raise this money multiple rounds through multiple rounds of financing. You can raise up to $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000 using corporate credit without ever giving up any equity. So, for example, instead of raising $200,000 from a guy on Shark Tank or someone like them and giving up 30% equity, and then a year later needing another $200,000, you have to give up another 20% equity. So now you give up a total of 50% equity just for $400,000. Using corporate credit, you can do multiple rounds of funding and raise $400,000 or $500,000 and still retain 100% ownership and keep 100% of the profits for yourself. So that's amazing. Imagine 2 years from now, your business is making you $200,000 a month net profit, and you're keeping all of that money for yourself, instead of, in that other scenario I just laid out, writing a $100,000 check to your equity partners. So those are the benefits of corporate credit. Now, in closing, I just want to leave you with a couple thoughts. The beautiful thing about corporate credit is you can use it in conjunction with other types of financing, and I think the best way to use it is use a little bit of your savings. A lot of times you need $100,000 for a business, which is the average amount of money that the typical business takes to start. You can use only $5,000 or $10,000 of your personal savings, whether that's in a credit card or on a 401k or in the checking account, to start your business, and you can leverage that little bit of money and the right knowledge to raise lots of corporate credit to make sure you have enough cash to start your business and keep it running profitably. So that's one thing I want to leave you with. That's a very powerful strategy to combine those last 2 techniques that I just reviewed with you. The second thing is that if you found this video helpful, you're going to love our next few videos, because we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers, and I'm going to guide you through exactly how to do your numbers. Even if you don't like math, don't worry about it. I'm going to make it very, very simple, and you're going to know exactly what kinds of money make the most sense for you from our next video. So in the next 3 videos, I'm going to show you how to get everything that you need to raise corporate credit in place, and you're going to know that 3 to 4 days from now, you're going to know exactly what you need to do. So I encourage you, look for my email tomorrow. If for whatever reason a friend emailed you this link or shared this link with you and you have not already opted in on our website, I encourage you to now go to ultimatebizsuccess.com and enter your name and your email address there, and you'll get emails from me over the next several days so you can get all of these videos in the series. So, and that website again is ultimatebizsuccess.com, ultimatebizsuccess.com. So, in closing, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to empowering you to achieving your goals, fulfilling your dreams with your business plans, and do it while retaining full control and full ownership and all the profits of your company in your pocket where they belong. Until I speak to you again, leverage all that you've got to get all that you want, and God bless you. Bye for now.